What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Uncle Fred, back in the house again. A little short video just to give you some updates on some couple things. As the NFL is moving towards the end of the NFL's regular season from 2021 and prepping for the playoffs. And there's some things that they're pondering trying to do to get themselves ready for that. Make sure there's no, there's no trouble at the river, so to speak. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like, share it with folks. That way we can, the more likes triggers the algorithms, and maybe, like I said yesterday, shoot your boy a little change if I get enough likes and enough traffic, and because I think I'm putting out a good product. So go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe. And then lastly, I'm gonna make this on the end. An NFL legend, icon, an OG of the OGs of the NFL has passed today. And I've got my thoughts on that and my feelings and that sort of thing. And it's a sad day. But first of all, we're going to talk about the NFL as new. So as we know, NFL season is getting down to the last 3 weeks. And they're prepping for the playoffs. And, we got this 17. They've played 15, but they've got 16 weeks because everybody has a bye built in. So they've got the 16 weeks. So you got 17, week 18. So anyway, the NFL and the NFL Players Association are agreeing to modify their joint protocols on Tuesday, cutting the standard isolation period from what was supposed to be 10 days down to 5 days for asymptomatic individuals. Okay. This is reported by NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. Okay. An individual to clear protocol must meet other qualifications beyond the 5 days since their initial positive test. Per memo to all 32 teams obtained by Pelissero, an individual must clear at least 24 hours since their last fever without the aid of a fever-reducing medication. Okay. Other symptoms must be resolved or improved. The individual must be cleared by a team doctor in consultation with the ICS and the NFL, and only local regulations or requirements have been satisfied. The change of protocols are made in accordance with the new guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, which announced on Monday that it has shortened the recommended time for isolation from 10 to 5 days, followed by 5 days of mask wearing, provided the person is asymptomatic. Okay, the decision came one day after the league saw a record 106 players placed on the COVID-19 lists. Okay, remember, there are only 2,500 players. So this is like just that day, you're talking about like 5% of the players. Okay. So and most notably Carson Wentz, under his new protocols, he would be eligible to play in week 17, provided he meets all these things. But remember, he's unvaccinated. Okay. So there's the thing there. The updated protocol also states that meetings are only permitted outdoors or in practice bubbles while practicing the social distancing and masks and these sorts of things. Okay. So now, the thing that kind of bothered me about this, and the reason I got this on, I'm gonna tell you why I got this on, because everybody knows I rolls with, the star. I roll with the Cowboys, but I got respect for that too, and I'm going to tell you why later. You may be wondering, why are we wearing that? There was some contact to the Centers for Disease Control and why they changed their regulations for how long the incubation or isolation periods were. Now, you would think that it was due to something along the lines of they've got new medical understandings. They've studied this thing longer and come up with some better understandings of how the period of how long the disease does whatever it does to the within the cells and this sort of thing. It's okay. It has a shorter life when we do this. If we do this, it has a shorter life, and therefore your symptoms should be shortened and whatnot. But really, it got its inkling to shorten the incubation or isolation periods due to the movers and shakers in the U.S. economy. What do you mean, Uncle Fred? What I mean is a lot of heavy hitters in the world of commerce, CEOs and things of this nature, were putting pressure on them to shorten it because they would have people in their employ that were out of pocket for 10 days. And they say, well, if they're asymptomatic, you don't have no idea how much money we're losing by these people not being there for these 5 days. And can we shorten that to these 10 days? Can we shorten this to 5 days? Now, I've got issues with that. Okay. Because at the end of the day, I understand. I'm not naive, and I'm not one of these tree huggers, and then but I do understand that if you're talking about something that's going to affect somebody's health, you can't be putting dollar amounts on that, in my opinion. Okay. So because I want him to come back to work quicker, and I want to, and it don't matter if I'm putting him at maybe 15-20% more risk, it's going to affect my bottom line better for him being here. So I'm going to pressure the CDC to shorten this. I don't know. That don't smell too good to me, man. Because at the end of the day, the people that have all the money seems to make all the rules, and it's like they trample over the masses in order to do that. And at some point, the people have to be like better than or smarter than that. Just like, no, we not gonna stand for that, because ultimately, some people, like I said, if they're asymptomatic and they don't have any issues, I don't have any problems with it. And as it relates to the NFL, you got a guy like Carson Wentz who could come back and play Sunday, and he's not vaccinated. And what are the chances he could spread that to other players? See, just to get him on the field. You understand where I'm going with this? So on one hand, as a fan, I understand them wanting to do this and applaud that, because hey, if you can get one of my Cowboys on the field better, quicker, whatever, that all the better. But as a human being, and understand that these players are not Madden, and I probably shouldn't have said that, aren't Madden characters on a game. They're actual people with families, with who are fathers and uncles, and these sorts of things, and their lives matter. Their health matters, and they gotta live long after their playing careers are over. They aren't living just to provide us entertainment, is what I'm saying. So I got mixed feelings about that, because as a football fan, I kind of like it. And I know the players want to be playing, and understand that. But most players will want to play, even if it means it'll take 10 years off their life at the end of it. They'll be like, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So, but the numbers are alarming, though. 191, 100. What was that number? I'll go back here. Scoot back up here. 106. In just that week. This week. Okay. And I think over the last couple of weeks, it's been over 200. Okay. Now that is roughly just under 10% of the league. They're either in protocol, just come in a protocol, or have not yet left protocol. So it's going to thing. I'm just going to say this, and we're going to get on to the last story of our day, and we're going to get out of here. But it's going to come a situation where an NFL team is going to have a prominent player not be able to play because he missed protocol or something. he was tested at a certain point and he gonna miss a game, and whether it be an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady or Matt Stafford or a Dak Prescott or a Cooper Kupp or a Antonio Brown, one of these prominent players, that's gonna miss a game or two, or be out for a week, or be out for a first round of the playoffs or something like that. And I believe that they're easing, just like the CEOs are easing back the regulations or the protocol limits, so that they can, ease their, profit margin a little bit and get important personnel working, so they can, I guess, earn their money. Same thing, the NFL is looking at, hey man, we can't have a Super Bowl or an NFC championship game or AFC championship game where Pat Mahomes can't play or Josh Allen can't play, something like that, depending on who else makes the playoffs in there, or somebody like a Joe Burrow can't play, if they make the playoff. They're currently 9-6. He's not a regular playoff participant, but as it sits right now, they would make the playoff because the season ended today. But that's a thing that they don't want to have happen. But see, the thing is, though, would you risk putting a player out there if it was a chance he could spread stuff to other folks? Okay. Now, as it relates to the Dallas Cowboys, the Cowboys have a facility on the Star called the Omni, and I was listening to Mike Fisher today. He's from CS Cowboys CSI CS SportsIllustrated.com or whatever. He kind of works with the Cowboys and stuff like that. The Cowboys have a facility. If the Cowboy players so chose to do so, and it'd have to be 100%. The Cowboys could create a bubble for the Cowboys if they wanted to. If they got their home games, they got a facility that could house all 53 of their players and their significant others and that sort of thing, and the coaches and that sort of thing. They could house them and encapsulate them. Now, every NFL team don't have that, So it would not surprise me if Jerry Jones didn't put that suggestion out there and put it out there. Hey man, if y'all are serious about all of us coming together to win, then you would do this, for 3 weeks, man. That's the thing, and it's like I've always said, you got to make some sacrifices in order to play. If it means, I got to be away from them for a couple of weeks, dude, that you only play for 4 months out the year. Okay. The other 8 months, 7.5 months, you can do what you want. But you gotta, some point you gotta, that's what if you think, and it's like that in other industries too. Try talking trying to do something with a CPA in January and February when they're trying to put together tax stuff. That's their season. That's their season. That's their main season. And there's certain industries, certain seasons, that's where they make their money. So, I would like to see if the Cowboys could do that, put their all the personnel all in I think it's called the Omni, and it's big enough. Anything in Texas, if Jerry Jones had anything to do with, it's big enough to house all of that. He would do that and make them a bubble. And that way they would have no chance of anything. But if as soon as one player say, hey, you know what, I don't want that, I'm going to take my chances doing it on my own, or I got a sick mom or a dad that I want to be able to see or whatnot, and I don't want to, for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I would get that because, you never know, them 2-3 weeks, they could lose those people, and, they wouldn't be able to, So I get all that. But, something to think about. But the NFL is making some moves. They're trying to do some things to free up some stuff so they could do what they need to do for the, and prepping for this year's NFL playoffs. So I'm gonna keep you abreast as much as I find out stuff. I'm gonna let you know. And I wished I didn't have to tell you this right here. News of the day. It was learned about maybe 7:30 this afternoon that Hall of Fame coach, broadcaster, game originator, John Madden, passed away today at the age of 85. And many of us that are, in my age group, maybe know John Madden, and that's why I got on this Raiders get up. It's actually my son's. He had this on the other day, and when I found out about this, I said I'm gonna find that Raiders hat and do my video with the Raiders hat on, because I'm paying homage to a great legend, an icon in the NFL. But just a few things about John Madden and the way I understood him, what he meant to me, and what I understood about him. And not that I ever knew him or even met him, but what I saw on TV and things of this nature. But I do know that when I started watching football in the late 70s, I want to say 77, 78, John Madden was the coach of the Oakland Raiders. John Madden was born April the 10th. 1936 in Minnesota, and then his family moved them to the Northern California area, and that's where he grew up. And he played football at an early age, and starred at several high school positions on the offensive and defensive line, and earned him a college scholarship to Cal Polytech. Also won a scholarship for University of Oregon. But he really never got to play because he had a knee injury and it sat out a season. He would have starred next to John Robinson, legendary coach of the Rams, John Robinson, okay, who him would become friends. John Madden was a linebackers coach. He was hired in 1967 to the Oakland Raiders as a linebackers coach by Al Davis, okay, and by 1969 was promoted to head coach. Okay. Now this is the time when the Oakland Raiders was part of the AFL. At the time, and many of you young folks don't know this, so you listen to the old folks when they tell you about these things. At the time, the NFL and the AFL were two separate leagues. And what you know is the AFC was one time its own league. Okay. And a couple of teams transferred over to the AFC from the NFL, but most of the teams that are in the AFC now were once upon a time AFL teams. Okay, and the Raiders were one of them. Kansas City was one of them. The Jets were one of them. Okay, they were all AFL teams. Okay, so this is before the merger in 1970. Okay. So he became the coach of the Raiders in 1969 and posted a 12-1-1 record. John Madden coached the Raiders for 10 years. Okay. The Raiders were known as a tough-minded team, a little on the aggressive side, but they were always well coached, and they were always super aggressive, and they were always in your face, and they were always mean and nasty. And if you played the Raiders, you knew it. Okay, they had players on their teams, such as John Matuzak, Ted Hendricks on defense, Jack. They call me the Assassin Tatum. All these guys on defense, and on offense, you had the legendary Kenny the Snake Stabler. Dave Casper, tight end, and then Mark Van Egan. And so these guys, Fred Biletnikoff, who the award for the best collegiate receiver is aptly named for. He was a receiver for the Oakland Raiders. Okay. John Madden, in 10 years coaching the Raiders from 1969 to 1978, amassed a 103, 32-7 record. Okay. We reaching the AFC championship game or AFL championship game. You can say that, because the first couple of years he was AFL. From 1973 through 1977. Now, those early years, they were knocked out by Kansas City and some other teams, knocked out 74 and 75 by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would go on to win championships. But in 1976, they knocked the Steelers out and went on to the championship, won their only Super Bowl in the John Madden era, beating the Minnesota Vikings 32-14. Okay. John Madden would reach the AFC Championship game in 1977, but would be dispatched by the Denver Broncos, who would go on to the Super Bowl. That year messed me up just like 1981 messed me up. 1977 and 1977 and 1981. 1980 messed me up from having what would have been for me at the time a much desired Oakland Raider Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl. Because the Denver Broncos upset the Raiders in 77. And of course, they went to the Super Bowl in which the Cowboys destroyed them 27-10. It would have been the Raiders. I don't know who would have won. It would have been Kenny Stabler, Dave Casper, and those guys, Fred Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch. It would have been all them guys, against, Roger Staubach, and Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, Randy White and all those guys. It would have been an epic Super Bowl, but the Raiders got upset and the Broncos went and they had to take the Raiders butt whooping. And then in 1980, the Cowboys got upset by the Philadelphia Eagles and the Raiders went and they won their first of 2 Super Bowls in the Tom Flores era. Okay. So what folks don't know is that John Madden, and many people in my age group know all 3 levels of John Madden. People probably in the 40s probably don't know that he was a coach, but know him as a broadcaster, because in 1979, after he left the coaching sideline, he would join CBS and become their lead color. Well, he wasn't the lead color analyst when he went there, but he would become their lead analyst by 1981, teaming up with the legendary Pat Summerall. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to try to hold it together here. You guys you have no idea how epic the games were in the 80s through that era, through CBS, when the Pat Summerall, John Madden broadcast. You have no idea how innovative. They even talk about it today that, they didn't even have what they call staff meetings with the players and the coaching staffs and stuff like that until John Madden brought that. He introduced the video and studying the film and this sort of stuff. He introduced that into the thing. He was so innovative, but he was just simple. And his analysis, along with the golden voice of Pat Summerall, man, you're talking about some good stuff, man. That it don't get no better than that, man, than as watching the NFL broadcast from CBS. And all during the times of the 80s and the 49ers era and the Giants era, watching John Madden diagram those plays. He talking about, you get this guy here, and he'd always put it on the video board with the little Sharpie, and he would circle the guy. This guy, and he moved this guy to this guy, and he hit boom, and you hit this guy, and he goes through that hole. You see that stuff, man. That stuff it would be so fun, but it would make sense how he would say it, and he just made you love football. The way he explained it, his expressiveness, and how he said, explained the more complicated defenses and things that, offensive line player, which he was an offensive lineman, understanding blitz pickup. And they're coming on a blitz here, and this guy comes up, he tries to come in, and this running back comes up and boom, stalemates him in the line of scrimmage. And that way, Elway has time to make this throw, and he, down to Vance Johnson along the right side, but it starts with the pass protection. And then Pat Summerall said, they did this last week in the game against the Baltimore Colts, and his voice was so good. But that team You have no idea. The young people, you have no idea, what you guys never got a chance to witness and not seeing a Pat Summerall, John Madden broadcast. Okay, let me read you something that John Madden said, and this is just something that that explains who he was as a person and what he thought about and how he felt about things. This is what John Madden said. This is a quote from John Madden. John Madden said, "Coaching isn't work. It's more than a job. It's a way of life. No one should go into coaching unless he couldn't live without it. Football is what I am. I didn't go into it to make a living or even because I enjoyed it. There is much more to it than just enjoying it. I am totally consumed by football, totally involved. I'm not into gardening or any other hobbies. I don't fish. I don't hunt. I'm in football." John Madden, iconic. John Madden was the lead analyst, him and Pat Summerall, from 1981 and to 1993. Okay, and so modern young people might not understand. Let me see if I can break this thing down to you. Now, back in the 70s and 80s, there were two networks that did the Sunday broadcast, just like it is now. It was CBS and it was NBC. Okay, CBS did the NFC games. NBC did the AFC games. That was Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen. I know them guys too. Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen. Okay. Oh my. Those guys were iconic back in those days, man. But getting back to Madden, and so in 1993, the contract for CBS with the NFC ended, and they went to Fox. Fox has that still today. Okay, NBC got out of the football business and went to doing Olympic stuff and what is up, wide view of sports, or what do you call it? They start doing those kind of things, and celebrity bowling, and so they did other things. And then the CBS picked up the AFC, which they have today. Okay, so John Madden worked from Fox from 1994 to 2001. Okay, then he left Fox. Okay, and went to ABC and did the Monday Night Football. Okay, with Al Michaels. Okay, now he did that from 2001 to 2005, and then NBC got back into the business and started doing Sunday Night Football. The NFL started expanding their brand and started putting their product on several different channels, several different outlets. Okay, and to what it has today. And so now it's on everything. You got football on CBS as AFC, on Fox as NBC, NFC. You got the Sunday Night Football on NBC, Monday Night Football on ABC, and on ESPN. You also got NFL on Amazon Prime, as well as a whole bunch of other streaming outlets now. Okay, but once upon a time, it was just CBS for NFC, NBC for AFC, and then Fox came. Wasn't no Fox when we come along. Fox just came along in like the mid 90s. Wasn't no Fox. All right. Fox came in there and they got the rights to the NFL, and so they took it away from CBS, and CBS went back and got the AFC when the AFC's contract was up in NBC, and they got the AFC from NBC. Then NBC comes back about 10 years later in 2006 and picks up the Sunday Night Football, which they have today. So they've been doing that like 13 years. But the ABC has been doing what they've been doing since 1970. So they've got a bunch of different broadcasters and different guys all the way from back to Cosell to Don Meredith to even Dennis Miller to, you know, all these guys, Dan Fouts and different guys, different guys have done that. All with Al Michaels, all the guys. But John Madden, he was there from there. And then finally in NBC, he went from NBC from 2006 to 2008. He was at NBC, and then he retired from broadcasting after 30 years in the business, from 1979 to 2008, 30 years in the business. Okay. And he was always on the most iconic team. Now, I'm going to tell you, even today, you got some good broadcast teams. You got Aikman and Joe Buck. Oh, they're great. They wasn't Pat Summerall and John Madden, though. I'm sorry. Sorry, young folks. I love me some Aikman. He's a former Cowboys quarterback, and Joe Buck comes from baseball and that sort of stuff from when his dad, I think it's Jack Buck, if I'm not mistaken, from St. Louis. But they're not Pat Summerall and John Madden. Okay, and CBS, I know Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. They're great too. They not Pat Summerall and John Madden, though. John Madden I'm just gonna say this like this, and then after that he got approached about a gaming system that they wanted to put his name on it, and he was influential in putting the hardware together as far as like what you can do on a game, putting the science together, put plays and formations and all that kind of stuff. All that came from the mind of John Madden. Now, he may not have done all of the technical work in it because tech gurus put that together, but they wouldn't know what to put in there unless they consulted with John Madden. But anyway, John Madden, I'll never forget one of the games I remember the most from John Madden. It was a 1993 Week 16 game from the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Emmitt Smith, who was the NFL's rushing leader and who would also, the first two games of that season, he had held out, but came on in game 3 and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. But they needed to win that game against the Giants in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at Giants Stadium to win the division. Okay, Emmitt Smith came into the game with a separated shoulder, and John Madden was just going crazy. Emmitt Smith with the separated shoulder, he's just gutting it out. 8 yards, 9 yards on the play, and he's hurting after every play. Emmitt Smith rushed like 30 times for 167 yards and caught 10 passes for 62 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And it's the only game that he ever was in the broadcast booth where after the game, he came down out of the booth to shake Emmitt Smith's hand because of the performance he put on that game. And I'll never forget that. It was the December of 1993. Okay, and they won that last game of the season in order to win the division. And of course, they ended up, winning the 2 playoff games and winning the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills that year. But yeah, man, I would remember vividly those John Madden games, and he would just illustrate those games, talking about big Nate Newton, big Eric Williams over on this side, and they're going up against Reggie White. And you see, and when the ball snapped, they go boom, and those guys hit each other, and then that's 600 pounds of guy over there hitting those 2 guys, and that leaves a crease, and Emmitt Smith slides right up in that hole and gets 15 yards and a first down, and you can't get better than Emmitt Smith in these type of situations. And I will say this as I put my video to a close, man. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to have witnessed and watched and experienced John Madden as a coaching the Oakland Raiders. And like I said, I kind of low-keyed was a Raiders fan. When I was a Cowboy fan, I kind of would watch them. Raiders were always coming back. They would be down like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and would come back and win the game. And much like the Cowboys would do the same thing. They would never be out of a game. They'd always come back and win games when people had thought to call them out. And I would have loved to have seen them in the Super Bowl. But I saw him as a coach, enjoyed him for 30 years as a broadcaster. And, I've not played Madden a whole lot. That's kind of a young guy's thing. I play some video games, but John Madden, probably the most iconic figure in the world, in the NFL. And I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna be done with this. John Madden coached the NFL from 1969 to 1978. Won only one Super Bowl and won a total record of 132, I think 32 and 38-7 or whatever, and was 9-7 in the playoffs. And I'm gonna say this, and many might disagree with you. John Madden had more impact on the NFL in the short amount of time that he coached and whatever than all the other legendary coaches that coached with him during that era. Even though he didn't coach as long as them, or did he win as many Super Bowls as them, because of the impact that he had on the sport. And I'm talking about my own Tom Landry, the iconic Tom Landry with the fedora standing on the sideline stoic. Love me some Tom Landry. He wasn't John Madden. Chuck Noll, 4 Super Bowl championships with the legendary Steelers in the late 70s. 74, 75, 78, 79. Okay. 4 Super Bowl titles. Okay. Wasn't John Madden. Okay. Didn't have the personality. He was a darn good coach, though. Just like Tom Landry. They were just stoic. Don Shula, winningest coach in the history of the NFL. Won 2 Super Bowls with the Dolphins. 1 with the Colts. Wasn't John Madden. Okay. John Madden's input pack, even though he coached like some 30, 35 years or so to 40 years ago, still reaches today. And the way the game is called, the way the game is coached, the way the game is talked about, all of that goes back to John Madden. My gosh, he'll be sorely missed. And Fox just did a documentary, and I meant to watch that, but I was watching the NBA games and other things, and I said, well, I'm darn sure going to watch it now, because he does an interview in there. And it's not known what he died of, because obviously he was well enough to do the documentary from Fox, and he does an interview in there. Now, another probably, I don't know if it's well known or not, but John Madden did not like to fly. So CBS, when he worked for CBS, purchased him like one of those camper cruiser things, like a RV, a huge, and it was decked out with everything you could want. So he would drive to games. Apparently, he was going to a game or something that once upon a time, way back in the 60s or 70s, and the airplane experienced some turbulence, some turbulence. And so the legend has it that John Madden prayed and said, Lord, if you get me off of this plane and get me to the ground unscathed, I will never get on another airplane. And he never did. Always rode in that cruiser, the Madden cruiser, wherever he went. And I would always remember those Thanksgiving Day games, and them turkey legs would always be big smoked turkey legs, and they'd be out there, and whoever won the MVP of that game would come down and share a turkey leg with John Madden when they would interview him after the game. And it's just so many memories, man. So many things I remember, iconic things, man. And I guess if you believe in the kind of the things in the afterlife, is just, Pat and John are together now, calling the game, and are commenting on the game that they're looking at from up there. So John Madden passes away at 85, legend, an OG of the game. My gosh, he'll be sorely, sorely, sorely missed. John Madden, dead at 85. R.I.P., man. And that's all I got from today, from the desk of Uncle Fred. Please comment, like, and subscribe to the Uncle Fred Experience. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. That's all I got. Y'all take care.